I've been renting the studio space since November of 2016. It's here that I've shot over 200 plus YouTube videos, mixed and mastered most of the songs that I've ever worked on, not to mention written, recorded, and produced tons of music for myself and others. And now, after 8 years of using this modest studio for everything that I do that's music related, I've given my landlord notice and I'm going to be shutting it down and moving out for good. In fact, by the time you watch this video, I'll already be gone. I imagine this video won't do too well on my channel. It isn't really a tutorial or solving a mixing related problem after all, but it is going to give you some more insight into my journey and my story and what I'm going to be doing next in the coming months. You can consider this my first channel update, if you will. And really, it's for you, the good people who watch and engage with my content on a regular basis. I appreciate you guys for always doing that. You are the reason why I have this channel and why I do what I do. I give away these things that I learned the hard way for free, and I appreciate you guys for always holding me down throughout everything that I do. We just passed 28,000 subscribers, and I'm really thankful for all of you guys, and I wanted to make sure that I continue this dialogue, as you are going to notice some key changes coming in the next few videos that I drop. And if you're watching this right now, say what's up in the comments down below. But the first thing you may be wondering is, why am I closing my studio? The simple answer is I don't use the studio the same way that I did years ago. When I first got this place, I had a partner that I was sharing it with, and I was doing a lot of in-person hourly sessions, a lot of vocal recording, a lot of mixing and mastering, and some custom production stuff as well. I would also teach students in person how to do what I do, how to mix, how to master, how to record, how to produce, how to do these different activities one-on-one, so they'd be able to learn directly from me. And a lot of times this would be a lot more like coaching, if that makes sense. And I had a great run doing this for a while, but in 2020, when the pandemic happened, everything as I knew it changed, especially here in Toronto, which is where I'm based out of. In-person gathering was completely limited, and for a while it wasn't feasible to keep doing what I was doing simply because the government said that I couldn't. Bylaw officers were going around, things were just really weird at that time, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to this experience depending on where you live in the world. But the problem for me was that I relied on being able to connect with people in person to deliver the services that I had to offer, and everything was tied to an hourly outcome. I had to be here hour per hour with somebody else to give them what they needed, whether it was recording their vocals for a song, or making a beat for them, or mixing and mastering something, or just teaching, right? All these things that I did were dependent on this hourly commitment and being able to synchronize in person at that time. And because I couldn't, my business suffered greatly at that time. But the other side of that, and sort of the silver lining here, is that I was getting tired of this in-person stuff that I was doing. Don't get me wrong, I love working with artists and helping them develop their ideas, and it's actually something that I still do to this day. But I also knew that I couldn't scale up my business by trading my time for money, nor could I keep doing the things that I've always been doing and expecting a different outcome. So in a weird twist, the pandemic actually forced me to do something that I always wanted to do, which was pivot away from hourly services and move to a different model. Now, because of all the pandemic stuff that was happening, we just weren't using the studio to the same degree that we initially were, and my partner decided that he no longer wanted to actually rent the studio on a monthly basis, and he just fully got out of it. And that put me in an interesting position. I had to decide, am I going to stay and obviously take over the rent in full, or am I also going to have to leave at this point because I couldn't afford it? Well, after a little bit of deliberation, I decided I was going to stay and try to figure things out. I also looked at this like I had no downside. My studio was a month-to-month rental, so if things didn't work out, I could just decide to pull out of it the next month and life would go on. Yes, it cost me a lot more, but it was a gamble worth taking, and I was able to actually leverage the space in a number of different ways, which you guys have been able to benefit from at the same time. First, I started to focus more on remote mixing and mastering, grant writing, and I also started to make more content here on YouTube, which I've been doing since 2018, by the way. I was also becoming a lot more interested in real estate, and I knew that because I had this place, even though it was a rental, it was a place of value to other musicians, and I could ultimately sublet this place at times to make a buck and also enable them to work on their own musical projects, which I was able to do in the coming months after my partner left. Now, I just want to point something out. Notice how all of these offerings were not dependent on an hourly trade-off. Really was focused on delivering value through results with an entirely different pricing model that wasn't dependent on hours worked, which is how all of my previous offerings were. I could basically do all of these things remotely on my own anywhere in the world, and as long as I delivered a high-quality product, then the client would be happy. And by doing this and pivoting in this way, my studio went from being mostly a recording and production space to a YouTube production studio and a mixing and mastering suite at the same time. And as time went on, if I'm being honest, I started to go to the studio less and less. In fact, I would even mix songs on headphones sometimes and only come in here to do my final checks, a lot of which I would actually also do in my car on the drive over here and just do my final tweaking, right? But for the most part, this place was really just used for me to shoot my YouTube videos because I don't have enough space at my current condo, and I just needed a dedicated place where I could shoot these videos and help you guys for free. And I'm not gonna lie, this isn't the nicest studio in the world. I've definitely definitely been in better studios with better equipment and all that stuff, but my philosophy has always been to make do with what you have when you have it. I've made music in big studios with SSLs and Neve consoles and just racks of outboard gear, and I've also made music up at the cottage right beside a tree on my laptop with a tiny MIDI keyboard and some headphones. The gear doesn't dictate the end result, just like a car. A Honda and a Ferrari will both get you to your end destination. Now, of course, it would be nice to drive the Ferrari, but if you can't drive at all, it doesn't matter which car you take, you're not going to be able to get there. And with this studio, really I just wanted a place where I can go, where I could tune out the noise and work and get my stuff done. But the truth is, as time went on, I started to realize that I actually don't need the studio and only kept it for the sake of this channel and delivering these videos to you. So now you might be wondering, if I needed this space for my YouTube videos, then why am I shutting it down at all? Well, you may have noticed that I'm not only closing down my studio, but I'm actually leaving the city of Toronto, the place that I've called home my entire life. And that's because I'm actually moving into a house that's located just outside of the city, a little bit less than an hour away in the suburbs. The reality is, housing has become extremely unaffordable in this city, and as I get older, I actually don't really use the amenities that the city has to offer that much. I'm never really going downtown. I actually hate going downtown because it's just so chaotic, and really I only go to support one of my artists if they're doing a show or a pop-up or something where I should actually attend. And of course I love going to these things and seeing my people, but the reality is they only happen once in a blue moon, and otherwise I'm pretty much just staying at home or living in my bubble, in my general circle, which will translate really anywhere, whether it's here in Toronto or somewhere else entirely. And because I'm an entrepreneur that executes all of my work remotely, I could do this anywhere. I don't need to be in the city to be as effective as I am right now. And of course, all of my friends and family are still in Toronto, and because it's so close, I'll still be in the city quite regularly, so it's not like I'm really disappearing for good. But as I complete this move, I can now understand why so many people are actually leaving the city and living in the suburbs like I am. For perspective, I'm going to be moving from a small 700 square foot condo to a house that's easily 4 or 5 times bigger than that for the exact same price that I'm paying now. And because of that increase in space that I'm going to get from being in a house, I'm going to have a dedicated room. It's actually bigger than this room to put my studio and get to work. And I'm not going to lie, there's a lot of work to do, so I would appreciate your patience as I get things set up over there. I really want to create a space that is nice, that sounds good, and I need to kind of figure out the kinks and quirks of doing that as I do it in real time. But you'll definitely notice an aesthetic update in my future videos, among other changes that'll be coming soon. I'm actually really excited for this chapter. I've been looking forward to it for a long time, and I hope you can continue to come along for the ride. I got a lot of great things to share with you in my future videos, a lot of requested tutorials focused on vocal production, recording, mixing, mastering, everything in between. You guys please keep commenting, keep subscribing, keep sending me your questions. I appreciate you guys so much, and I'm looking forward to continue helping you throughout the rest of the year and beyond. I'll catch you next time, and if you haven't done so already, definitely subscribe to the channel so you can see what I got coming up next. Peace.
5